Harmagedon. And no, it's not a made-up title. It is actually something from the Old Testament that they've localized it. The real name here is Genma Taisen. This is going to get a bit weird, folks. This is Rintaro, his debut at Madhouse. Rintaro is a legend. Let's start out right at the beginning. Though Harmagedon is a, let's say, infamous film, it's not a very well-loved one. If anything, the main reason this film has any history at all is because of a certain gentleman called Otomo, also known as the creator of Akira. This was his first movie project, and he came on as the character designer, which was a Rintaro decision. Despite what the producers were pushing for, this might be the first time we've seen in this generation the more realistic and grounded look of an Otomo film. The previous pictures at Madhouse were definitely a lot more stylized, let's say. Kid-friendly. At least one of them. Even then, that's debatable. But Rintaro wanted something different. Even though at the time Otomo was a pretty small-time manga creator, he did have a devout following, and Rintaro thought this sort of design would elevate the film, despite what the producers were telling him. They thought it was too realistic, they thought it was not cute enough, and that it would go down bad. Now who's laughing, huh? It's said that Rintaro spent 3 hours in a coffee shop slowly wooing Otomo to the idea. So what even is Harmagedon to begin with? If I had to say one thing, I would say galaxy-brained. There's little focus on plot or dialogue. The film starts with a princess of Transylvania on a peace mission to somewhere, and then her whole plane explodes in the sky, and she has a psychic premonition of 4,000 years of intergalactic war between two sentient races of telepaths and intergalactic demons. So it's that kind of film. Space age, cosmic, fire erupts from the sky and it turns red. Existence as we know it breaks down. The fourth dimension opens up as our smoking pipes rise. It is a psychedelic picture, let's say. The original manga and novels it was based on came out much earlier. We're talking late 60s or 70s. And that kind of free love feeling is still present in the picture, even if the original had a rapidly different sort of style to it. Something you'd expect from a Tezuka. There is a definite focus on music in this project. The iconic Dracula music, or well, Bach, let's say Bach in D minor, is one of the first tracks you hear in the flashback of intergalactic psychics as the planets erupt and psychic blood wars begin, with so many volumes of this manga's pages just crammed in there in a very small portion of time that you can feel the sort of immediate whiplash as we jump back to a slice of life living of a down on his luck boy. So it is said that Rintaro did want Pink Floyd on the soundtrack, which had me thinking that were the producers and directors thinking this was going to be sort of like a 2001 style situation? Or was it merely Pink Floyd were too expensive? Yeah, duh. So they got some gentleman called Emerson from Emerson, Lake Palmer, an English rock band or English prog band that were pretty popular back in the 70s. Him, along with Nozomi Aoki, focus on the music. One of the more well-liked parts of the plot, even if I would say the music used is quite cheesy, it's triumphant, almost like a family film. There's sometimes a psychic army, which is, something that's in this film. There is a sort of psychic army of protection. Get together. It sounds like the Knights of the Round Table all coming together to charge into a psychic battle. Very goofy, which is funny when you think about it, because stylistically it's such a grounded film and the attention to detail is insane, from the little bits and pieces like the electronics, the brands, the nightlife experience of it all. You can definitely see the embers, the ideas come together about how an Akira film might look and how viable it could be. Though Otomo doesn't think highly of his time spent on the film, some of it sounds like it was quite fun. He liked working with people. It sounds a lot better than just being in isolation. However, he heard a lot of complaining on the film about the producers and about the way they were forced to work, the ethics of the work environment. And he obviously had some pushback there. He didn't have much control over what he was doing. If he was ever to make one of his projects himself, he'd only do it under the conditions that he had final creative control. Even if the film wasn't doing so hot on the reputation in America, in Japan, it did some bang. Let's put it that way. This was the biggest selling anime film of this year, 8th on the whole country, and probably one of the best selling anime films of the early side of the 80s. There was a ton of commercial licensing on top of this. You had weird games, laser discs, toys, merchandise. It was a sensation. If you look at it long enough, there are certain ideas in the plot that could be reminiscent. You got this big city energy that's crushing down, psychic powers, the articulate style, the sort of down on his luck protagonist who gains psychic powers and goes a little mad to begin with. And even Rintaro has agreed before that this was that point where ESP became a little more fascinating to Otomo. He started to add that kind of concepts to his projects after working on this film, and he was there for quite a bit. Even if he did very little on the film in terms of animation, he did do all the character designs, some of the promotional shots, as well as a couple final stills in the film where the city is being destroyed by natural disasters. In one of the more iconic scenes in the film, a robot man has a sort of synthy Moog style ominous track as he continuously shoots this young boy with his weird green lasers for some reason, and eventually leads to a complete wrecking of a little abandoned warehouse as new psychic powers erupt from the boy's whole being. At this time we have some sort of stark contrast with the white backgrounds, the thick black lines, everyone stopped in motion but the neon lights still glow. Mozart. No, that's Mozart. Mozart Bach. This film really likes his classical music. This scene could be looked at a bit like Mickey Mouse or Poltergeist as he throws the articulate items of very impressive scene too, if you think about it. Can't be easy to animate, all spinning around him at top speed. That's part of the appeal, I guess, of Harmagedon, if there is any, is that there are a lot of greatly animated or just crazy visuals throughout a very, very long runtime, which I'm not going to lie, guys, I did fall asleep while watching this film. Yep, it happened, and I woke up and I finished the film. I did it. I strangled myself through it, and then I went back and watched what I missed and realized, oh, I actually don't have any more context than I began with. Yeah, take that as you will. There's a blunt story here. You got telekinetic power people making a team to fight evil intergalactic space demons. But everything else is, it's the journey that counts here, and that journey is meandering and slow and sometimes hilarious and beautiful all at the same time. You could call it ambitious nonsense. Just, what is happening over there? What is going on? Is that boys in a gang? Oh, gangs. Well, I mean, you know, Otomo likes his gangs. Very intimate brother-sister relationship. That young boy's funky synth keys. Oh, now his sister's died. That's a real mood killer. Battles at Mount Fuji, lighting cigarettes and volcanoes, saving fawns. Yeah, those are the kind of scenes that make Harmagedon a little bit more interesting, a little more fun to watch. Harmagedon did fit right down into the OVA era, which was about to begin. It was the first step on a long ladder up, built for that dark sci-fi, sometimes a very exploitative genre of inappropriate anime that you shouldn't be caught watching. Visually striking for sure, and there's some musical talent there. Not something I would personally recommend outside of its archaeological influence. As well as, I mean, you got some of the greatest animators in the period working on it. Canada's dragons at the end definitely flow beautiful and a highlight of the whole picture. This is something that Canada was known for, but this one really brought them to an explosive level of quality. If there's anything Canada knows, it's weird, splooshy energy and dragons. Like I said, it was a stepping stone here. Otomo said it was a lot of fun, and that it was cozy. And I'm sure he met a lot of animators on this project, which would come and help him in the future. But at the very least, the viability of a project like Harmagedon would be encouraging for making your own project in a similar style. Say, for example, a very expensive 1988 film or something. Oh yeah, here's a little fun fact for you too. Chun-Li of Street Fighter fame, yeah, that girl there, she's the inspiration. The artist himself has confirmed it. That was what they were going for. Of course, they changed it a little bit, aged her up a bit, gave her some stronger, more powerful thighs, but influence comes in strange places. If you could find any copy of Harmagedon, I definitely recommend the 20th anniversary, which has a commentary and interview with Rintaro himself, with a lot of gold in there. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a copy myself, but I did, get some hearsay on what was included and what wasn't from a little place called Anime World Order. I've also heard the dub is the stuff of legends. According to Genma, Keith Emerson recorded the whole thing either drunk or high in about a week with Rintaro. The project itself costed about $2 million in total, which makes it a medium-sized anime movie for the time, but it was 2 years of straight hard work. That's what really made it come together. A lot of the animators weren't used to drawing in such a realistic style, so it took them about a year or so just to get to the position where it all snapped into place. And that's what happens when you're working with Rintaro, who can just collect together some of the most talented, brightest and the best of a generation. This is not the first time Otoma felt a little bit burned from a project he worked with in the movies. When Otoma was approached in Inkyo Cinema Club movie, when he read the script, he wanted to rewrite the whole thing, and they told him they'd already shot everything. So perhaps there was some bad hostilities there. There's no surprise about the direction he took in his future projects. If they're going to do it, they can't do it without me. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to write it. I'm going to direct it. I'm going to even animate it. And hopefully there'll be good marketing, just like with Harmagedon. It has its place in pop culture, and apparently there's a very funny parody done by Project Echo, which I'm sure I'll put on the screen right now. I guess without it, we wouldn't be able to see our world of Akiras and Ghost in the Shells that we have now. So I'll leave it at that. Hey everyone, check out my Patreon, and there's going to be plenty more videos coming. Hopefully I can edit these videos. I haven't started editing these videos yet. I've just been recording the audio and hoping I can edit these quickly. See ya tomorrow.